To another live stream. I know that I'm like 2 minutes late. I'm actually not too bad, but I apologize for being late. If you're catching the replay, feel free to skip ahead to the 5 or 6 minute mark because that's when I'm going to get started. But in the meantime, I'm going to say some announcements. So, of course, if you want to hear that, then feel free. So first things first, we're gonna give it a minute just to let the notifications get out there, and then we're gonna take it from there. Also, if you are an aspiring creative, like you want to make a side income or a business from your gifts, your talents, your passions, anything along those lines, and you're like, okay, I don't know how I would get started in that, then look in the description box and book yourself a creative consultation call with me. It's a great call for me to just sit with you, figure out, what your talents are, what your passions are, how can we monetize that and create a side income for you, if not a flourishing business, because in this day and age, money is all around us, but you just got to use your gifts and your talents to get to it. So look in the description box, book yourself a creative consultation call. Also, if you would like to join the newsletter, that is also in the description box. It goes out on the 1st and 15th of every month, and it's absolutely free. It's like our one-on-one conversation. I tell you things that you don't hear about elsewhere online, and eventually you guys will get discounts for products and events and things like that. And also, make sure you share this video out. So if you haven't shared it out, if you're not subscribed to the channel, you kind of see me popping up on your homepage and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. It means a whole lot to me. It's free to show love. It literally costs you nothing. And definitely hit like. It helps YouTube understand that you're enjoying this content, and hit share. Share this to your social media sites, to at least 2 to 3 friends. Sharing is caring. Also, if you'd like to become a channel member just for general support, you can hit that join button, and you can become a channel member for $6.99 a month. And eventually, once I get enough people, I will definitely be doing private live streams and discussions and things like that. And then I'm working on the Patreon, so when that's up and running and all good to go, I'm going to tell you guys that. But if you want to check it out, I am going to edit it, but if you want to check it out, it's patreon.com/dailydell. So other than that, that's all that I have for the announcements. We're going to get started at around the 5 minute mark, but I hope that you guys are having a good day. I hope you guys had a good Mother's Day. I'm still recuperating from Mother's Day, to be honest, y'all. I am tired. Like, I'm really tired today. So I don't anticipate being on here too long, but we'll see, because I say that every time and then I end up being on here at least an hour. So hopefully it's not as long as an hour today, but we'll see. I'm not like rushing. I'm just tired. But the good thing is I don't have to work today. So I have been chilling. Like, I took Christian to a speech therapy, and then we went to the park and I met a really cool mom there, and her kids and Christian were playing for hours. Like, they played for a couple hours well. And that was a good conversation, good connect. So I enjoyed that. And then I came home, did some homeschool with Christian, and now I'm here. So it's been a busy day. Like I said, I'm still recuperating from Mother's Day. It's been a lot going on. But we're trucking along. We're gonna keep trucking. We are going to keep trucking along. But I hope that y'all got pampered, all the mothers out there, mother figures. I hope you guys enjoyed your Mother's Day. You know that I'm chilling today when I got the robe on. Okay, like, I'm not, I'm not doing too much. I got the robe on. I'm chilling. But it is what it is. And so today's talk is gonna be advice to Christian single moms. But of course, if you're not a single mom, like, you can still probably glean from this. It's more of like a casual, informal conversation, and I'm just like giving some advice off of things that I had to learn, things that I've journeyed through, and so on and so forth. So I did make notes because you already know I end up on tangents as it is, so I didn't want to end up on like a really, really big tangent. But yeah, so I'm just sharing life advice, but like I said, everyone could glean from this. So I'm gonna give it about another minute and then we'll get started. But yeah, I just, like I said, I hope everyone had a good weekend. You're having a good day. And you just have a good night. I know after this, I'm gonna, wash Christian's hair and stuff. And then I am chilling. Okay. I'm gonna be in my bed early tonight because I am exhausted. Like, it don't even make any sense how tired I am. But a mother's job is never done. Okay. You get that one day to be celebrated, like, with a special focus and effort. Honestly, we should be celebrated every day, but it doesn't always work that way. And then after that, it's like, okay, back to the task, back to the job. But you know what? It's the hardest job I've ever loved. So I'm not even complaining, but I'm just being real. I'm being absolutely real. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. But what encouraged me to do this video is, like I said, it's just a sisterly talk. And I wanted to do something that I wish that someone had done for me. And, May is a month that we celebrate mothers, and it's also Mental Health Awareness Month. So the rest of the month, except for the very last Tuesday, is going to be centered around mental health. And so I was like, let me throw in some stuff in here for moms to help them out. Because at the end of the day, this is advice that is helpful, whether it's May or not. And so, the first bit of advice that I have is to take time to do the inner work and heal as a single mom, and to understand your self-worth. And so, every single mom became a single mom in different ways. Our stories are all different, but I'm sure there are also similarities in it as well. And more often than not, when I talk to single moms, we did not anticipate being single moms. It's not like we purposefully were like, yeah, we're going to go out here and we're just going to be single moms. I mean, some women decide to be a single mom by choice, whether that's through in vitro or adoption or whatever. And that's perfectly fine, like to each their own. But for those of us who might have become single moms out of a relationship that didn't work out or whatever, there's a lot of trauma that comes from that. There's a lot of like hurt and rejection and just different things that we really should be tending to and looking to in order to make sure that we are our best selves. You don't want to kind of revel in it and not pay attention to it and not do the inner work, because that is going to affect your future relationships. And so you really want to take time to sit with yourself and heal, because sometimes it doesn't hit you right away either. Like for me, I dealt with the guilt and shame and all that early on. And then I had really good community around me when I was like throughout my whole pregnancy, but I really poured into like my small group at church and stuff. I think it was my second trimester, all the way to when I gave birth to Christian and when he was an infant and stuff. And so I felt the love, I felt the support. And so I really didn't take the time to do as much healing as I should have, because then those feelings crept back up and I realized how much healing I still had left to do later on, like when Christian was like 2-3 years old, and you have, well, in my case, I went back out and started dating, different life situations happen and whatnot. And you realize like, dang, like I still got some healing to do. I still have some unresolved issues. And so if that's you, if it's happened, like I said, because of a failed relationship or whatever the case may be, hey, Michelle. He says, then, take that time to heal and to really ask yourself, like, okay, well, how did I get here in the first place? Like, why did this even get to this point? What were some of the roles that I played in this situation? How can I avoid repeating these mistakes or these poor decisions or whatever you want to call it, and really get down to understanding your self-worth as well. Because I know a lot of times as single moms, we can feel like we're not worth anything. And we can feel like, we're damaged goods. One, because, and I might as well get to the next point, is that you want to monitor who and what you listen to. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of animosity towards single moms, and consuming certain types of content, listening to certain people is going to do nothing but tear you down more than it helps you. Even if they are making valid points in what they're saying, if what they're saying is rooted in animosity, disdain, hatred, negativity, is going to do more harm than good. And so we have to, as single moms, be even more circumspect about who we listen to, where we go to get information, all that, because there is a hatred towards us, depending on who you ask. Like we definitely get embraced and we get love and support and all that, but there definitely is like a ritual towards us as well, depending on the audience and depending on who you're dealing with. And so we want to make sure that we're guarding our eye gates and our ear gates even more so, and that you are protecting your peace at all costs. Like you got to protect your peace and you got to do what you got to do. If that means that you got to block certain pages, then you got to block certain pages. And sometimes, this might sound bad, but sometimes it's not even, you got to block a toxic page. Sometimes like you're on your inner healing journey, you're doing the self-work, the shadow work and stuff, and you're still trying to find your worthiness towards getting the relationship that you desire. And so maybe at that point where you're feeling like maybe, you're not quite there, it's not the best time for you to be consuming a bunch of marriage content. I talk to a lot of women, and this isn't even just single moms, this is singles in general, like, whether they're moms or not. But because we're talking about single moms, I'm going to focus in on that. And I talk to a lot of single moms and they're like, like, dang, like I really desire to have this healthy relationship, or to have, a relationship that's loving and supportive and this and that. And they're following all of the marriage pages, all of the love pages, all of the Black love pages, everything that's just engagement, love, like being whisked away on a private vacation in a private jet. And you're listening to, engagement stories all day and stuff. And it can turn into you feeling bitter, and it can turn into you feeling like, dang, like I'm never going to get this. And then it can also turn into you wanting to only get that, where if, God does send you a man who is loving and does care about you and all that kind of stuff, that if it doesn't look exactly like that, that you push him away. And so you have to guard like the information that you're taking in, both on the negative and animosity side, and also just the comparison and competitiveness, and feeling like it's got to look like this, otherwise it's not love, or it's not, genuine, or whatever the case may be. So watch what you listen to, who you watch, what you listen to. It makes a difference. If you keep consuming toxic messages over time, that's going to be your mindset. And then you're wondering why you think like that, and why you're down and out and you're struggling with self-worth, because that's what you're consuming. Like, or you are, yes, covetousness is real. Okay. So, even when you're in a relationship, honestly, I would say monitor how much of that you take in, because a lot of people do stuff for the camera. And I'm not going to say everybody's relationship is trash. If they look happy online, it's trash. But I'm just going to say 99% of the time, it's not what it looks to be. So whether it's even better in real life, whether it's worse, but everyone's got pros and cons to the relationship. Everyone's got good and bad. So it's never all good. Even if it looks all good, it's never all good. And so, but when you're constantly consuming stuff and comparing and taking it all in, you don't even appreciate it. Even if God sent it to you, you don't appreciate it when he sends it. All of it becomes an idol. Exactly. And so as single moms, we got to be careful. But it starts, like I said, with the inner work and the inner healing, especially if it wasn't a single mom by choice situation. It was a failed relationship or something. And you're like, dang, like I feel like a failure. This didn't go how I planned. Why didn't I see it earlier? And that's another thing too. And I've been guilty of this in the past. Like, while we need to vet men and stuff like that, and honestly, I say vet everybody, friendships, business partners, men, anybody that's coming into your life, vet them. We got to take the weight off of ourselves of expecting ourselves to vet someone for the whole duration of a relationship. So if I meet a guy today and I'm like, okay, yeah, like he seems cool, we're talking, we're having conversations for 2-3 months, I can't predict in that 2 to 3 month span how he's going to act in 5 to 10 years. Like those type of things you can't really predict. It's a risk that you got to take, and you just got to, pray it up and keep your faith in check and pray that like God keeps y'all, but this is why you also need to know who you are. And that's why I said you got to do the healing on yourself, because at least if you're healed or healing, because I also don't believe that you need to be perfectly healed before you meet somebody, because if that's the case, none of us will ever be with anybody, because we all are constantly needing to heal from different things in life and just circumstances or whatever. But if you're on a treadmill, you're walking, you're on the healing treadmill, you're doing the work as best as you can, whatever that looks like for you, whatever resources you have available to you, you're doing the inner work, you're doing the shadow work to realize like, I act this way because I have abandonment issues, or I act this way because, I have low self-esteem, or, I have a fear of rejection. And so I got to do the leaving before I'm left, or whatever the case may be. When you get down to the heart of the matter and you start to work on those things, then it's going to help you with your self-worth. And when you understand your self-worth more, and when you understand the weak spots and vulnerabilities and, your characteristics or whatever, it's going to help with your self-worth. And then when you understand your self-worth and that increases, and you're like, okay, like, these are my weak spots, I'm working on it, but that doesn't mean that I'm not deserving of a love that I desire, or whatever the case may be. Then you can properly monitor what you take in, what you don't take in. Because a lot of times we surrender ourselves to messaging that does damage to us. And we say like, oh, I'm chewing the meat and spitting out the bones. Baby, you don't have to chew the meat and spit out the bone. Like, there are people out there that can give you what you need without the toxicity and the negativity and the traumatic side effects to go with it. So it's like, just choose wisely, like really monitor. And just because someone is getting a lot of fanfare, that doesn't mean that they're the best fit for you as far as like who you seek for mentorship or advice or guidance or whatever. Sometimes you need to go down the narrow path. Heck, even the Bible says that, like, even though it's talking about obviously salvation and stuff, but the principle holds true, like narrow is the path, so the path that everybody's going down 9 times out of 10, in my experience, it's going to lead to destruction in some way, shape, or form. Versus if you go down the path where it's like, okay, a lot of people really don't like do this. This might not be the most popular thing or whatever, but it's more wholesome for me. It's going to lead down a better path. So definitely watch that and who you're consuming what from and all of that kind of stuff. The third point I have is if you desire relationships and marriage, vet men properly. Now, I know, I just said you can't vet a man for, the next 5-10 years. Like, you just don't know. We're constantly changing. You can never predict that. If he's Prince Charming today, he could be, Dr. Jekyll 10 years from now. Like, you just you don't know, but vet him properly to the best of your abilities. Ask the pertinent questions. This is another reason why you need to heal. You need to do the work on yourself. You need to know who you are and whose you are. You need to understand the general vicinity of where you're going. You need to understand what you want your life to look like, because one person might say, oh, well, if you want that, you won't find a mate. Listen, sis, there's somebody out here for everybody. There's somebody who would agree and be pretty much on the same page as you, and y'all can make a life together. So don't let people make you feel like if it doesn't look like ABC, it's not going to work. You just need to be clear on what you need, and you need to communicate that, because communication rules a nation, and lack of communication is what causes a lot of problems in relationships. And not just romantic relationships either, but friendships too, because people don't communicate their expectations. They don't communicate what they need, where they're headed, what they're feeling, what they think. So you need to have a clear picture of that. And then you vet the man properly based upon that. So this is kind of like where I see myself going. This is my purpose. This is my vision. How do you see it? Now, when I say vet and be on the same page, I don't mean like he needs to be exactly like, oh, I want to do the exact same thing. You're going to have to compromise on some things. You're going to have to let some things go. You're going to have to take on some other things and vice versa. But the general picture, like the general finished product, should be heading in the same direction. So once you figure that out for yourself, then you'll be able to vet better, because you'll be able to ensure that that person's going in the same direction as you. So it's like the airplane and airport analogy that people always use when it comes to dating or anything really, but particularly dating. When you're at the airport, there's a whole bunch of different people there. You might have a great conversation with someone in the gate next to you, or maybe even at the same gate. Maybe they're just there early for their flight or whatever. And then they call for the flight number, and you're going to London and they're going to LA. Y'all had a great conversation. You might have some compatibility there, but they're going to LA, you're going to London. So one person's not going to abandon their flight and go on the other person's flight. Like, we're going in different directions. Now, someone might be going on the London flight with you, but when you get to London, y'all probably going to different cities, staying in different hotels, so the intricate details are going to be what's different. Like, you're never going to find someone who's exactly like par to par with you, like y'all want exactly the same thing and all that, but we need to at least both be going to London. Okay, once we get to London, we can figure out, okay, do I really want to stay in the countryside, or do I want to stay downtown London? Like, do I want to stay in a hotel? Do I want to get an Airbnb with you? Like, you figure out the details later, but you need to be at least going to the same destination. And hopefully that made sense, because I'm trying to break it down for y'all. Okay, I'm trying to break it down. Also, because you're a single mom, when you're vetting him, you need to make sure you're both on the same page when it comes to child rearing, because you're coming to the relationship with at least one child, and he might be a single father. He might have his own children too. So it might be at least two, if not more. And so you need to make sure that y'all are on the same page with that, because that is a major obstacle if you don't address it. And so you don't want to just be all about like, oh, well, I love this man, he's attracted to me, or whatever the case may be that, you want to be with him, and you don't address the important things. Because besides money, child rearing is a big thing that could break up relationships, whether you even want to have children or not. But in this case, we're single moms, so the child or children are already there. So you definitely want to make sure that y'all are on the same page. Major obstacle, how do we see rearing children? What do we want our home to look like? Who's going to be the disciplinarian? Who's going to have, how are we going to discipline? Who's going to be doing most of the talking so y'all see it in the comments. Michelle saying she's living it out now, so it's like, who is going to be doing what, and what roles we want to have? Do we want our children to be more in an authoritative parenting dynamic? Do we want to be more like gentle parenting? Like, what does that look? Have these hard conversations, just like you would with money. I mean, because that's a whole nother talk. I didn't even get to that during Financial Literacy Month, but we need to talk about money too. Money, child rearing, things like that. It matters, because one person might be a really frugal shopper. Another person might just be like swipe, like they don't really care, And while you could balance each other out, you need to at least understand where each other's coming from and where you see your life looking like. And same with children. Like, okay, I have my son. I'm someone who practices, generally speaking, more gentle parenting. So, you know, if you don't know what that is, look it up because I don't really have the time to break that up. The dynamic is huge, sis, very huge. So I would say like 80% of the time, I'm more gentle parenting. I'm also not very traditional as far as like, when it comes to certain things. So like schooling, he's currently homeschooled, but more than likely he's either going to be doing either school at home or homeschool. There's a difference with a specialized teacher to come and help him and supplement with co-op. That's not your traditional schooling. You know, I know parents who do outdoor nature school with their kids because they don't believe in the traditional classroom setup. You know, there's all sorts of things, but that's like your alternative kind of lifestyle type thing going on, where some people might say, oh no, it's public school for me, point blank, period. Other people might say, no, church school. You know, I want my son to have the freedom to be able to live in different countries and to do different things and not be boxed into a classroom that doesn't work for him. I know my child, you know. So these are conversations where we have to have it. I don't shy away from tough conversations. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it, you know. But I know a lot of people be like, whoa, like this is a lot. But to me, it's like we might as well get it over with. Might as well, you know, we might as well get it over with and just talk about it, because those conversations happen sometimes. I'm talking to a guy, I'm like, ooh, yeah, like, you know, I'm not gonna bash your way of raising your child, especially if he already has children. I'm not gonna bash your way of like how you raise your child or children, but I just don't see where I fit into that with how I believe in raising children. And it's no shade to you, you know, best of luck to you. You got my support. You need advice, whatever, help, anything, I got you. But as far as being a couple, it's not gonna work, you know. So you gotta have those tough conversations. Do you guys want more children? You know, because sometimes you're coming with the child and he might not want kids. He might just be cool taking on your child or children, and that's it. He might have a child or children. You might have a child or children, and y'all like, we good. And then maybe one wants more kids and the other doesn't. That's my problem that I'm running into now. I do want more, preferably 2 more, but you know, in my age group, some men are like, you know, I'm good, because they also started having kids earlier than me. I had kids like, I had Christian. I was pregnant with him when I was 27. I turned 28 right after he was born. So, you know, I started late in the game. A lot of the guys that I'm meeting, they had kids by the time they were like 22, 23. So their kids are older than Christian and they're like 38, 40 now, you know, so it's a different thing. So 2 kids, sis, 2 kids. So yeah, you got to have those talks. Do you want to have more kids? What does that look like? Do you want to birth them? Do you want to adopt? Do you want to foster? Like, you know, have these tough conversations. Girl, 1 more. I want 2 more. Honestly, I really want 3 more, but because a lot of the men that I date have a child already, I'm like, okay, I'll do 2 more. So we have 4, because I need even numbers. I don't know. I have a thing about numerology. Like, I need even numbers. It's weird, I know. But I'm just thinking about like if we're at the roller coaster park or something, we need partners, like, you know, like I'm just weird like that. I'm weird like that. But yes. Michelle said 3 and that's it. Don't ask me for no more. But I would have 3 more, sis. I really would. If he doesn't have any kids, I would. If he has one, I would have 2 more. Unless he's like, hey, let's do it. Then I'm like, okay, bet, let's go. Like, you know, because too, like, by the time it's all, girl, all that tuition. Well, see, I'm homeschooling too. So that cuts some of the costs, but it depends on the co-op as well, because you do have to pay for the co-op. So it really just depends on so many different factors. But yeah, you know, it really depends. But it ain't cheap, no way. Like, it really ain't cheap. But I will say this, even though this isn't in the notes, like, it's possible. I feel like, are any of us really ever financially ready for a child? Like, honestly, you know, it's one of those things where this isn't like our parents' generation, where I feel like they could have really planned their lives and be like, okay, I'm gonna go to school or get a trade or start work or whatever, and I'm gonna just call it a day. Like, you know, I feel like nowadays you kind of just gotta roll with the punches. I'm not saying sign up for poverty, but you know, like, you're gonna have to find some ways around it. Yeah, some of the co-ops are high. Now, I have found some that are like $200 a month and stuff, but that's like for the basics, you know. So if you want to add on like extra classes and stuff, it's more. But yeah, it's it's a lot. Yeah, it's like we're never really honest unless you're like really wealthy. Like, most of us cannot honestly afford children, but we do make it work. And nowadays, there's so many ways to be flexible with that. Michael wants one now, girl. Listen, I'm waiting for that pregnancy announcement. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for that pregnancy announcement. I feel like I would have a child shortly after I get married too, because I'm already about to be 34. So I don't want to wait a whole long time. I want to like get married, And by the end of that first year of marriage, like I'm pregnant. I don't want to wait a long time, not sign up for right, like be realistic. If you know like you're barely making ends meet, then yeah, don't go having a child right now. But if you're not having a child because you're like, I want to be able to send them to the highest end, parochial school, or what's the word? What's the school? Dang. Montessori, like I want to send them to the highest end Montessori school in my neighborhood. Is like I get it. I'm not gonna bash you, but it's like those are all conversations you got to have. Do I absolutely need this for my child, or is it something where we can find other ways around it? So have those tough conversations with whoever you're dating as a single mom. Really get down to like what are things where you're like, no, I'm absolutely going this route, or what are things that you're willing to go opposite route. Because before I had children, I was like, I want to send them to parochial school because I went to parochial school, so I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And now that I have a child and I see his weak spots, I see where he needs the most help, I know his personality, I'm like, that's not even going to work for him. So, it's like, you got to just be willing to be flexible and roll with the punches, because life is definitely not predictable. Like we can sit and plan as much as we want, but it's like the Bible says, or, does the Bible say this? Y'all don't get me the line on the scriptures, but I know I hear people saying it, where it's like God, man makes plans and God laughs. I don't think the Bible says that, but either way, it's a saying and it's true. It's like we make plans. It's like, no, like this is going to be another route that you go, because it's all for His purpose and His glory. So, it's what it is. And don't feel like you have to settle either, because I made a little side note about this in my notes. Don't feel like you have to settle for someone's foolishness just because you're fearful that you won't find a man to love you how you desire to be loved. Because I know a lot, women in general do this, but again, we're focusing on single mothers in this case. And I know single mothers struggle with this a lot, where it's like, oh, I just got to take, the first thing that comes and looks promising, because who knows if I'll ever find someone else. And I'm here to tell you, despite the loud static and noise online of people saying, oh, nobody wants single mothers and this and that, the third, lies from the pits of hell. Single mothers are getting married every single day, baby. Okay. So they're in relationships every single day. And actually, if I'm being honest about my own life, I can't speak for y'all, but if I'm being honest about my own life, I feel like I've gotten better picks since being a single mother. I don't know if it's because they can see how I mother already. So it's not a theory. It's not like, oh, I wonder what kind of mom she's going to be. You could already see it. I don't know what it is, if they feel like there's room for them to more come in and help, because I'm not gonna lie, I was Miss Independent before I had children. I was, especially in the peak of my 20s. I've told this story before, but for those of you who might be new or just listening, you just stumbled upon my channel. When I was 25, 26, I was making over $90,000 a year. And at one point I was working 2 jobs. So really I was making over $100,000 a year, because I had a weekend job I did every now and then. And my main job in the government was paying me just over $90K a year. I had my own place. I had cars, okay, not a car, cars. I was able to literally take care of myself and help my parents and stuff. Like I did not worry for anything. Okay. So I was Miss, I got it. Like I don't need help with nothing. And sometimes that could be very intimidating for men. And honestly, no matter what they might say, okay, men like to feel needed. Like they want to feel, okay, you need me for something. Like I have a purpose here. I have use here. So, sometimes it's like we're too independent. And that's not even just single moms. I mean, yes, single moms, but just women in general. Sometimes, I'm not going to lie, sometimes women of color, we be doing too much, okay? We be like, Miss Independent, I got it, I don't need no man, I got it, da-da-da. That's not attractive. Like, I'm just going to keep it real with you. It's not attractive. A man wants to, a real man at least, I'll say, a man that honestly really is like, I want to be in my male energy. Like he wants to feel like he has a purpose there. Like you need him in some way, shape, or form. Not need him in like I'm codependent and I can't do anything on my own. But it's like, I want you to be the man. Like I want you to be in that male energy, and I want to kind of like be in my feminine energy. So I feel like me having a child helped me with that, because one, I had already left the government. Two, I have my savings and stuff, but now I'm in a different dynamic. Now it's like I really do need the community help, and I was more willing to take it because now I really need it. And it's like life slapped me upside the head and was like, yeah, like you need help, you need community, burn the cape, let the man be the man type thing or whatever. So I feel like my options improved since becoming a single mom. Now I can't speak for all y'all, but I'm just telling you my testimony. I'm telling you my truth. Lies from the pits of hell, sis. Okay. Maybe because I didn't entertain just anybody after I had Joseph too. And that's another thing too. Sometimes becoming a single mom wakes us up to our toxic desires, the things that we desired beforehand that we knew were no good. Whether we chose to ignorantly ignore it, or whether we ignorantly ignored it, like we honestly didn't know any better, or we chose to just like be like turn a blind eye to it and be like, I'm gonna choose what I want. But having those children, again, in our experience, me and Michelle, we can't speak for y'all, but in our experience, it like matures you. You know, you're like, no, I need someone that's a little better. If not, I'll be alone. I mean, some were still clowns, but not as clownish as before. Yeah, you know, not as clownish as before. And it's so true. So it's like, it's definitely not attractive, not at all. So it's like, don't feel like you got to settle. Like, know who you are. That's why I said that first point about inner healing, doing the self work, the shadow work, working on your self worth, self esteem, all that. Because once you have that as a foundation and you're constantly improving it and checking yourself when you're like doubting yourself or talking down about yourself, because your words have power. So if you start not only listening and consuming stuff that's negative and toxic and tells you you ain't nothing, but you start speaking that over yourself and you're like, oh yeah, I'm not worthy. Who's gonna want me? I ain't never gonna get nobody. This, that, the third. Guess what? You're gonna start materializing that in your life. Like, really. So don't settle. Do what you got to do to get your self-esteem and your self-worth where it needs to be. So whether that's affirmations, whether that's getting counseling and therapy, which I do have a video coming up this month about the inaccessibility of therapy, because a lot of us be hollering about get therapy and it's not as accessible as it should be in this day and age, but that's a whole nother story for another day. Do what you got to do to get there. Change your circle of friends if they're not helping. Okay, I've had toxic friends that I called best friend for years. And I'm like, oh, nah, this is toxic. Like, it took a major situation happening for me to be like, yeah, I should have been cut you off, you know, because I didn't want to believe it. So do what you got to do, whatever you got to do. Not accessible at all, sis. Okay. The next one I have is don't lose yourself in motherhood and feel free to reinvent yourself. So, you know, a lot of times we become moms and we are just like, I am a mom. And it's like, I get it. I love being a mom. Like, you can't tell me motherhood is not top tier. Like, I love being a mom. You know, I love looking at my child. I love the pregnancy. Now, I did have an easy pregnancy, so I am speaking from, you know, privilege in that sense. But, you know, especially considering that I'm high risk. So, you know, I had a pretty easy pregnancy considering. But I love the pregnancy. I love the belly. I loved all of it. I love the infancy. I love him being a toddler now and about to be in school. I just love it. I love seeing this human that like grew inside of me, like growing to his own person and stuff. And you can't tell me nothing. Like, my child comes first, point blank, period. Until I'm married, my child comes first, you know? And so I love it. But it's like sometimes, and I was there, we'll lose ourselves in motherhood where it's like, all I am is a mom. And before you were a mom, you were a woman. God created you with a purpose. He created you for a reason. He did bless you to have the role as a mother, but that child is on loan from God. Like, that child honestly belongs to God. He just blessed you to be the earthly mother to that child, but he blessed you to be the mother to that child for a reason, because you were equipped. You're the only woman equipped to get that child where they need to get to. But you also need to understand yourself. That's why I mentioned earlier to know your purpose, know where you're going. And your purpose doesn't have to be some, oh my gosh, this is my life purpose. Like, you know, God can reveal it to you in bits and pieces, but what is your purpose for this season? Like, what is my purpose for this month, this week? Like, where am I going? What am I doing? Like, what did God create me to do? And a lot of times, if you don't know where to start, look at the things that really you're really passionate about. Look at the things that really get a rise out of you, whether it's an injustice, an unfortunate circumstance that people face, whether it's something that you don't feel people really have enough resources for, or they don't have an outlet for, whatever it is that you think about and it gets a rise out of you. All of those things can lead you to your purpose. You got to discover it. You know, what do you enjoy doing? What can you talk about and do all the time, whether you're paid or not? You know, like, look at these things, spend time getting to know yourself, because it's always evolving. What I liked and what I felt purpose to do 10 years ago is not my purpose in this season. I know my purpose in this season. So top tier, sis. It's hard sometimes, but it's literally nothing like it. Right. You know, nothing like it. I love it. I absolutely love it. So it's like, figure that out and don't lose that. Like, motherhood, yes, it's my priority. Christian comes first. If Christian really needs something, I'll cancel a live stream. I'll do whatever I got to do. But I don't abandon this, because I know this is part of my purpose right now, to get these gems, the word of God, you know, all of this stuff out to women and people in general, because I have a lot more men on my channel now than I used to have, but primarily women who felt like me, who felt like we're too churchy for the world or too godly for the world, but too worldly for the church and for believers. We don't feel like we quite fit into any one atmosphere. The people who might have been disgusted by the church at large and, they've been turned off by God, those people still need the word of God. Like that, I know those are my assigned people. Those are the people that I'm graced and gifted to speak to. Those are the people that might not hear from someone else, but they might digest it from me. The people that are not going to be embraced when they go to your traditional faith-based organization, whether it's a church, a ministry, whatever. Those are the people that can come to my channel and get the truth and the word and encouragement and get a prayer and no judgment. I'm not going to look down on you and be like, oh my gosh, like da-da-da. So I know this is part of my purpose because I'm there to stand in the gap for people that other people might not stand in the gap for, or that they feel like they get unheard or forgotten or whatever. So that's why I didn't abandon my purpose. If anything, after motherhood, God catapulted me into purpose, because now I feel like I was able to be used even more, because now I had a different level of empathy to be able to use my gifts. I had a different level of understanding to be able to show up confidently and boldly, and I could speak from a level of experience versus theory. It's different if you've been there, done that, and you could say, hey, I'm advising you not to go down this road because I done been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, don't do it, sis, versus being like, oh, don't do it because this is what I read or what I heard. It's a different understanding. It's a different relation and relatability. So I know my purpose is too great to abandon it. So I do it in conjunction with my motherhood. And I encourage y'all, if you've been feeling buried, like it's just all mom, and you feel like that's not just the purpose that God has you in, or has for you in this season, I encourage you to tap into your purpose. Like if you feel like God has you in a season where your main and only focus is motherhood and that's it, by all means, be obedient and follow that. But if you feel like there's something in you that God's calling you to, you're like, dang, but I'm already a wife. Well, in this case, we're talking about single moms. I'm already a mom and I don't know how am I going to balance it all? Because I don't know. Like, I promise you, pray to God for that clarity. He will slowly but surely bring you helpers, bring you people to like pour into you, mentor you, point you in the right direction. And slowly but surely, one step at a time, you'll find where you're able to execute that purpose. But if you allow yourself to be hidden behind motherhood and to use it as a crutch, then you're missing out on the assignment. There's people that are literally waiting on you to be obedient to what God has put in you so that they can be broken free, so that they can get the courage to step out. There's people that I don't even realize they really pay attention to me like that until they send me a DM and they're like, I noticed you haven't posted like that. Like, where are you? Because seeing you on my timeline always encourages me and lets me know if you could do it, I could do it. I'm like, dang, like, I didn't even know you'd be watching my content. Like, because I have a lot of silent observers, like people that just happen to watch or see something on Instagram that don't always get around to commenting or whatever. Or maybe they might share something, but I don't get the notification or whatever. And then they tell me, and I'm just like, oh, wow, like, okay, and that helps me to continue on. Because I'm like, okay, I'm not just here talking to the breeze. I'm not just here like doing nothing or doing something and it's not being received and I feel like I'm doing nothing, So I encourage you to tap into that. And also, you don't have to be the same woman forever. So if there were things that you once used to enjoy, now you're a mom and you're like, like, that's fine. That's fine. Like before I had kids, honestly, I would say before I got into my relationship with my ex-fiance, but particularly before I had Christian, I used to love me a club. Y'all, I used to love going to the club. Now, I'm good. Like I might go once in a blue moon. I'm not so pressed to go to a club down here in Atlanta, but like if I'm in the DMV, I'm back home, I would go to like one of my brother's events that happen to be in the club or something like that. I would go, to support. Well, it's more lounges in DC now than like traditional clubs, but I would go and support because I know I'm gonna be well taken care of. I'm not gonna have to wait in line. I'm gonna be in VIP. I'm gonna be, everything on the house. Like we good, celebrity status out here. But other than that, I don't have the same taste. Like I barely can even stay up to go to a night movie, y'all. Like for real, guys be asking me out on dates, and I'm like, "Ooh, can we do a matinee?" Like, because you're gonna pay for me to take a nap up in this movie theater, and then you're gonna be upset. Because one thing about me is when I'm tired, I'm gonna sleep. My body's like, "Good night." We're going to sleep. So if you want to make sure I consume the film, it's best we like walk in when it's still daylight. We can walk out when it's dark, but it's something about me walking into the movie theater when it's dark outside. Like I fall asleep. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. I got to walk in the daylight. It's something about that. But yeah, so feel free to reinvent yourself. Like you don't have to be the same woman forever. You don't always have to like the same things. You don't even always have to keep the same friends for real. Because some friends they nothing but toxic and just damaging. So, or they're just distracting. Like, you know, they don't get it. They're like, oh, you changed. Duh. I had a whole child. Like, of course I changed. Come on now. Girl, not stand up. I can't. Michael knows he have to watch stuff early. Right. Because I'm going to be asleep. Okay. Like catching flies asleep. Not even like a little nod or whatever. No, I'm going to be like head back. Like, I'm shocked when I went to see Batman that I stayed up. But you know what? We walked in during the daytime. See, that's what I'm saying. I gotta walk in during the daytime. If we took a later showtime, I would have fallen asleep. Oh yeah, family could be the worst because they play that whole "oh we family" card. You know, we blood, and just like I didn't ask to be born into this family. Like, miss me with that. My family knows I'm good for like falling off the grid. Like, I'm good for creating some space and going ghost if I need to for a period of time, because I'm just like, y'all doing the most and I am not the one. Okay. So I'm gonna holler at y'all when I get it together and when I feel like dealing with this, because I cannot, I literally cannot. And take some time for yourself too and lean on community so that you can, like, you know, focus on those things that you feel led to. So for me, I'm blessed to have the community of my mom and sister. It's not a huge community, but we live communally, so it helps a ton. So I know even from that aspect, I'm speaking as someone who has a lot of support that others might not have. But even if it's not relatives, it could be a church family, because my church family in Virginia was very helpful. Like, they were so helpful. Even now, like, some of them still keep in touch with me, still send, you know, resources and gifts and monetary donations or whatever they feel led to do, whenever they feel led to do it. And so that's a huge blessing to be connected to a church family like that still and have those connections. But you know, it could be friends from school. It could be like whatever. Like, you can make the community that you need. You don't have to wait for it to fall in your lap. Because that's another thing that I plan to do, hopefully before the end of the year, is create a life group for Christian singles. It's not just going to be for Christian single moms, but it's going to be for Christian singles. And you know, some of those people might be parents too, because I feel the void since I moved down here, because my network is up in the DMV. So I have a few friends down here, but everyone's busy. Like, everyone's got a different life. And so I'm just like, I want to create this group to create like a life network and a life support and community for people that are like me. And I met a lady at the park today who, she's from here, and she was like, look, I would join that, because I need, like, it's hard to make friends, you know, especially as a single mom. It's really hard to make friends. So, you know, that's something that's been on my heart to do, because like they say, sometimes when you've been looking for something and you can't find it, it's because you're supposed to start it. And so I really feel like God's like, yeah, like, you need to start this, because you're graced for it. You have the grace to deal with people, the surprisingly the patience to deal with merging relationships. But I'm a community builder. I don't have patience for people on an individual level like that. depending. But as far as building relationships, yeah, like, I'm a community builder. I'm a relationship builder. I'm good at that. So I really think that that's going to be something I start before the year ends. And then hopefully, I mean, who knows? It might turn into a whole nonprofit organization. And I might have different segments for married couples and singles and Christian single parents. And, you know, I would love to just establish something that can really, like, fill that void for people, because we need relationship. We can't do life alone. And a lot of us can't pursue purpose and what we feel led to do because of a lack of community support. So if you know you got that life group there, there's going to be at least one or two people you can reach out to and be like, hey, like, can you help me with the kids this weekend? Or can you come help me with this project? Or, you know, whatever the case may be, so that we can be propelled into our purpose more and really do what God created us to do, and not feel a burden behind our roles in life as, you know, mom or sister, or, you know, if you are married or you're dating or whatever, like those roles. So yeah, that part. So the next one I have is, and this feeds into the community thing too, but this is the community at large, like people that you might not know like that, but utilize the resources available to you. So again, that could be from a church community. Like, again, that church in Virginia for me had a really good member care team, benevolence fund. Like, if you were down and out, if you needed your bills to be paid, you needed a place to stay, you needed a car, you needed anything, like, they would help you within the reasons and the resources that they had. They will help you, and you will basically be on your feet, you know? And so I really love that, but everybody doesn't have access to that, just depending. So you might have to use resources from your local government or somewhere else. You know, as a single mom, there are, well, particularly single moms, because some states have resources for single dads too. But again, we're focusing on single moms for Mother's Day, the month that we celebrate moms. But don't let your pride get in the way of you using resources if they are available to you through your local government. So whether that's programs for transportation and you don't have a car. I know there are some states that offer programs for single moms to actually buy a car at an affordable rate. I don't think Georgia has it, because I heard of the program when I was in Virginia, and they had just finished it in Virginia. Like, they had just closed it off, and I was like, no, but my church helped me with the car at the time. So it was cool. But, there are some states that offer stuff like that where single moms can buy a car through their organization. It's not going to be the new brand spanking new Benz or nothing like that, but it's going to be something to get you from point A to point B, and it's going to be affordable. And I mean, I would not complain if I could get that. And then there are resources, obviously, for food, clothing, rent assistance, utility assistance, education to go back to school, work and job training, babysitting assistance, and childcare assistance. I don't know if I said that already, because I feel like I'm repeating myself. But there's literally all sorts of things out there that some are just state benefits, like every state has it, and others based on your state. If you do your research, there are things out there, even to buy a new home. Like I shared, I think it was last month during Financial Literacy Month. If you are someone who's a single mom, I mean, and this isn't just for single moms, even if you are married, but you guys are lower income and it's not looking like that income is going to exponentially increase anytime soon, but you want to buy a home, there are programs out there to help you. Go to NACA. They help you with buying a home affordably based on your net income and debt to income ratio and not your gross. That makes a huge difference. Their interest rates are low. You could do Habitat for Humanity. There's like so many different programs. And there's others that I'm not even thinking about right now. There was one, I feel like it started with the A, that I heard about in DC, but I don't know if they're still in existence, because they were around like in the early 2010s. So I don't know if they're still around or if they've been bought over. Well, not necessarily bought over, but if they've like changed over leadership, because they were a nonprofit. So they might have changed their name or something, but literally there are so many programs and resources out there, whether you are single mom, low income, whatever. So use them. Don't let pride stop you. Don't be like, oh, I got to do it this way. No, you might not have the capacity to do it the way that they did it. And that's okay. Like, use the resources to get to the end goal. Do not let pride stop you, because pride will have you out here broke, busted, and disgusted for no reason, when you could be getting resources and help and whatever that you need to get. Some things you might have to, seek some legal counsel or, ask a rep or a specialist to help you, because some of these things can have complicated applications and stuff. But once you understand what you're filling out and what you're seeking, you can get guidance along the way. And then you could ask people. Like, I'm grateful that I have other single moms in my life, whether they're still single moms or not, who have utilized resources and have told me like how to go about it. And they're like, yeah, like look into this, look into that. I did this. I got this for my child, or this, or the third. And I also have, people who were lower income at one point and they used resources, and they're like, yeah, like when we, had less income, we went this route or that route. So, each one teach one, whatever, like share the wealth, share the knowledge. And if you don't know it, don't be scared to seek it. Don't be scared to ask questions and be like, hey, like, I'm kind of struggling in this or whatever, because pride and wanting to be so secretive and make it seem like we have it all together, that keeps us from getting the help we need. And you never know where your help might come from. So, speak up, have discernment. Don't tell everybody everything, but, speak up and seek the proper help. And also, the last bit of advice I have, and then we'll close out. Let me get a sip of my drink. Is don't count yourself out because you're a single mom. Because a lot of times we feel like single mom has to equal, extreme poverty, no access to anything, struggle. I got to struggle in my relationships. I got to struggle in my resources. I got to struggle in my lifestyle and this and the third. And that's not the case. Like, again, we're blessed to live in an era nowadays where money is all around us. Like, literally, you can make money anytime, any place. Like, it don't matter. You can make money on social media, and you ain't got to be a big influencer to do so. You got the gig work economy now with Uber Eats and all that. That is what literally helps me a ton. Like I said a couple lives ago, like I make a full year's salary off of that. And my content is now getting to the point where it's going to get there. And I'm praying for the day where it matches it and exceeds it, so that I don't have to do gig work as much. I'll never stop like being in the systems. I'll always make sure I'm active in at least one of them. But I want that to be a treat. Like, oh, I'm bored. I have some time today. Let me go do some Uber Eats type thing, So you got that. You got work at home jobs. You got so many different resources now that you can literally like create the life you want. And you can start a business using your talents. There are single moms I know that started a cleaning business. There are single moms I know that started a medical billing and coding business, because that's something that's been work at home for many years, even before work at home was really a thing. I know single moms who make money from content, blogging, stuff like that, from doing marketing, from creating courses. Like there's literally so many ways to make money nowadays. And that goes for everybody, like I said, but again, single mom video. So that's why I keep saying single moms. But it's like, don't count yourself out and feel like, oh no, like I always got to struggle, this and that. Like you can make your life what you want to make it. You just have to have the grit and the faith and the dedication to get there. It's not going to be an overnight process, but if you put in a little bit every day and you just, keep the faith up and you keep your prayers up to God, and, you have the discernment in the ear to listen and pay attention to when he's redirecting you and stuff, your life can very much elevate. Like if you would have told me everything that I'm doing now and that's becoming in my life is stuff that I talked about when I was pregnant with Christian. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a monetized YouTuber. I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have that. And some things are in the works. Others have happened already. And when I look back, it's like, wow, like I actually talked these things into being like, I talked about it with a level of assurance and I never gave up. No matter how tough it got, no matter how dry it got, I never gave up. I might have had some moments where I was like, yo, like, what am I doing? I'm sick and tired of this, but I never completely quit. And so I think if you just keep putting in some effort, you might have to take a step back here or there, but if you keep putting in some effort, you will get there. So you can provide a great life for you and your child or children as a single mom. You just got to believe that you can, and you got to put in the work to follow suit. So, don't count yourself out. Don't think you got to settle for just raggedy all around. Like you could definitely see and achieve and experience better. So, but those are all the tips I have for y'all. Like I said, this is more so like a sisterly talk, very chill. So on Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have Rosalind Renee, the creator of Therapy as a Christian podcast. And she has a YouTube channel too. I can't remember if her YouTube channel is called Therapy as a Christian. I think it is. Or it might be under her name, Rosalind Renee. But either way, she's going to be on my channel Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And she is a Christian mental health therapist. And that's her actual career and profession. And so she's going to be on here and she's going to talk to us about why mental health matters as a Christian. A lot of times we are just all about our faith, and that's nothing wrong. Like our faith is the cornerstone of our lives. It's the foundation on which we build upon. But I feel like we don't have this discussion enough as to why you need to pay attention to your mental health just as much as you pay attention to your physical health, or as much as you should be paying attention to your physical health. So it's not something that we should just brush under the rug and be like, oh, just have more faith and you'll feel better. Like we actually really need to have these discussions of what that looks like. So she's going to be this Thursday. Next Thursday, we're going to have Priscilla Henry of Her Faith Walk. She has a YouTube channel as well called Her Faith Walk. And she's going to talk to us about dealing with depression and bipolar disorder as a Christian. I'm very excited for this conversation because we don't have these kind of conversations, and you don't really hear a lot about bipolar disorder either. We hear a lot about anxiety, depression, things like that, but you don't hear a lot about bipolar disorder. So I'm excited to hear her take on it. Just give us her testimony, all of that. And then the last Thursday of this month is going to be my girl Shay from Obedient Shay / Obedience Podcast and Yasmin Williams Woods. So we're going to have a panel discussion about anxiety because all three of us have had a journey with anxiety, and we're just going to chop it up. So all the live streams are 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Make sure you're here. Make sure you bring your questions. Make sure you share it out. These are conversations that need to be had. They're going to help people. My next Sunday kickback, I'm going to finally give that story time that I've been telling y'all about since last year, about that relationship that literally almost made me leave the church. Y'all, I literally was 2 seconds from leaving it all and saying, forget it. And the reason why I waited to say that story during this month is because it did impact my mental health in a very, very real way. And I dealt with a lot of church hurt surrounding that. So that's going to be a story time. We're also going to have a cash giveaway at the end of that story time because Mother's Day, there weren't 2 moms on the live when I did the giveaway. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to put this money to the side and do the giveaway then. We'll see if it's more, but it's going to at least be a $30 giveaway. It might be more. I'm not promising anything, but you'll at least get $30 if nothing else. So make sure you're here, and it'll be open to everybody, not just moms at this point, because it's not Mother's Day anymore. But I hope that y'all join me. Stay tuned to my Instagram at official Rondelle Martin for all the updates, the flyers, everything. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you invite your friends, your family. Tuesdays, I'm always live, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. And Thursdays, it's 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. So Tuesdays is 7 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays is 9 p.m. Eastern. You could always find me on YouTube Live unless I say otherwise. So y'all have a good night. I'm about to get up off of here. Thank you for staying on with me. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It helps a ton with the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to share this out as well. I will see you guys on Thursday night. Bye.